Freemasonry has a strict policy of not interfering in politics. That's why it had always refused to recognize Italian Freemasonry with its highly political tradition. But in 1972, England's Masonic bosses had a change of heart and recognized their Italian brethren. Ironically, the man who would negotiate England's recognition of Italy's Masons was Licio Gelli, the closest confidant of an earlier Italian Grand Master.
Gran Maestro Salvini ottenemmo il riconoscimento.
Grand Master Salvini and I finally obtained the recognition of the Mother Lodge of England. I think that this was one of the greatest satisfactions which P2 Lodge and those who belonged to it ever had.
Determinante in questo caso, determinante con tutti gli uomini che aveva.
No sooner had Gelli helped bring the two countries' Masons together than England's Masonic leaders went to Italy and mixed unwittingly with the underworld of the city of Florence. In 1973, England's then Grand Secretary, James Stubbs, visited Florence to consecrate an English-speaking lodge. He was welcomed by leading members of P2, including a close friend of Gelli's named Alessandro Del Bene. They honored Stubbs with a banquet in Del Bene's mansion. Unknown to Stubbs, his host was an illegal arms dealer, known in the Italian underworld as the Godfather of Florence. But Gelli claims he met an even more important English Freemason in the 1970s.
Le regole della massoneria.
One rule we have in Freemasonry is not to disclose the names of other Freemasons, but I'll make an exception. I know one, and I'll tell you about him, the Duke of Kent. I don't know if you know him. I met him when he came to Florence. It was a great moment when the Grand Master and I shared the ceremonial embrace with the Duke to celebrate the recognition of Italian Masonry at that time by the Mother Lodge of England. I met him in Florence and we had lunch together.
The Duke of Kent is Grand Master of English Freemasonry. He says, to his knowledge, he has never met any Italian brethren at a Masonic function in Florence, and while he has met a number of Italians over the years, none of them, to his recollection, has declared himself to be a Mason. Someone who certainly met Licio Gelli was Roberto Calvi. Today, Calvi's family in Canada are still pursuing his killers. At first, Clara was in favor of her husband becoming a Mason. Little did she know this might be the death of him.
When he joined the Freemasonry, I didn't think that it was a wrong thing to do, because I remember that my mother always spoke very well about Freemasonry with respect. So I thought it was a good idea, it was a protection. But one day I knew, of course, about all these things that could be Freemasonry symbol. They killed Roberto, but they signed the death, the murder, no?